Well, so today I'm doing JavaScript and stuff. Okay, cool. I'm really pleased to be here. I think probably one or two of you might have seen me around a little bit, but what I've been doing, well, in fact, let me just give you a little bit of a background on me. So I'm Seb Lee-Delisle. A few years ago, maybe '04, I founded Plugin Media, a small digital agency in Brighton. We do a lot of work for the BBC and other sort of a lot of kids stuff. Yeah, so it's a project we did for Turner Broadcasting, a Tom and Jerry music game, and we've also won a couple of BAFTAs for our kids' websites for CBBC projects. So as well as doing that, I mean, these days I also do. Also, this is Big and Small, which is one of the CBBC projects that we won a BAFTA for. Did I mention that? I'll mention it a couple more times probably. So it's a really immersive 3D Flash world, all done with paper vision. I was on the paper vision team, and this was like one of the biggest projects I ever worked on. It was just massive. But check it out if you're 5. But what I also love doing outside of Plugin Media is my own projects and lots of research. I love doing any kind of visual, interactive stuff. Here's something I was doing at Brighton's White Night. We were projecting onto this building tweets that turned up with a particular hashtag and a generative art piece in the middle. And this is my favourite thing I ever made, which was some interactive fireworks. You just waved your arms around and fireworks came out. I've got a video of that if you want to have a look. So I'm quite mostly known as being a Flash guy, which is a bit scary at London Web Standards meetup. But the truth is that, you know, I've done lots of different things, and you know, I've made an iPhone app. I started off doing Amiga programming. I was a director programmer, and all of these different things. You know, they're just ultimately, I'm not really one thing. In fact, these days I seem to be switching from technology to technology on a week-by-week basis. Whether it's, you know, still a little bit of Flash, but also I'm teaching processing. I've just done my first project in Open Framework, C++, and of course I'm doing a lot of JavaScript as well, so I'm really getting into that sort of headspace of switching languages. But there is one common denominator with all of them, and that is that it's all creative code, right? It's all visual, and I'm finding that I'm redoing much of the same stuff in all of these technologies. It's really, really nice. So you might have heard of the Creative JS hashtag, so I'm running these workshops, and here's a little video of some stuff that people did on the last Brighton workshop. The music's really quiet, but there we are. I'm going to be showing you some of this stuff today, so I'm kind of going to go through a real whistle-stop tour of some of the best bits of the creative JavaScript workshops that I run. So lots of particle effects. I'm quite known for particles, really. They're kind of quite a fun thing to do. Make something move in a direction and make it fall down, which is fun. But make 1,000 of them, and then it's like at least 10,000% more fun. A lot of game stuff. I've had loads of experience making games, casual games, particularly in Flash. And again, now we're looking at porting some of that stuff into Canvas and open browser technologies. That was Rob's, wasn't it? That was Rob, the little world. He was playing with. He was on my course as well. Obviously, I taught him everything he knows. That's Carlos. That race car back then was quite interesting, because that was Carlos Ulloa, who also came to my course. Carlos, I know very well from, he was the founder of Papervision, right? So I worked with him on that project, and he was just sort of a bit grumpy at my course, going, "Oh, it's so trendy, isn't it, JavaScript?" But by the end, he just basically blew everyone out of the water with this incredible, shaded race car in WebGL. You might have seen it on the internet, the shiny racing car, Hello Racer. Carlos is just expert at doing brilliant shading and modelling and real-time 3D. So keep an eye on him. So, I'm not getting to 3D yet. I just wanted to get to particles. I'm just going to move straight to particles. I'm going to do some live coding, which will be really good, with one hand. I haven't quite worked that out before. You'd think I'd be used to typing with one hand. What? It's nice, you make your own jokes. It's really good. Okay. I think we've sussed a London crowd. Oh, look, I've just got a microphone holder. There, Nick. Let's hear it for Nick. Also, but tonight I'll call him Mike. And by the way, I'm just going to leave my Twitter open, so if you want to tweet anything embarrassing, that would be funny. Oh look, BAFTA winning. Did I mention the BAFTA? Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to hope you can hear me at the back. Mike isn't doing a great job of being a stand, but that's fine. Right, I've totally lost my place now. Right? So I'm just going to talk about particles. So much of what I do is about physics, but not real physics, not engineering physics, kind of cheap, fake physics. So if you want to move something along, then you can just update its position every frame, right? In this case, we're moving this ball 4 pixels every frame. That's kind of like its velocity, right? That's its rate of change. We're just drawing it one time in one position and the next 4 pixels along. We can recreate drag in a really complicated way or a really simple way that kind of looks okay. So we do it this way, which is the simple way. Multiply that by 0.9 every frame and it slowly gets a bit lower and it looks like our object comes to a halt. Yeah, you with me? Good. So that works in 2 dimensions as well, so we can apply the same amount of drag to the velocity in both the x and y dimensions, and then we can recreate gravity just by adding a little bit to the velocity every frame. There you go, I just taught you particle physics. Thank you.
With one hand.
It's alright, thanks to Mike, I've got my 2 hands now. Okay, so, right, and then there's simple, in fact I'm not going to talk about collision detection. We'll come to that. If you want to know about collision detection, you should come to my course. Oh yeah, so here we are, we've just got a simple... I don't have a book out, but I'm talking to O'Reilly, actually, about a little ebook. I'm a bit busy though, so God knows when I'm going to be able to do that. Okay, so here we are now. We're going to make a particle. This is our particle object. I don't think I reset this file properly, but that's fine. I'm just imagine you haven't seen any of this stuff there. See, like, look at that. Okay, so some fresh code from scratch. So we're going to make a particle there in the middle of the screen and we're going to render it. Particles and objects here I've imported into my JS folder. This is just a canvas, so I'm just going to draw the particle on the middle of my canvas. Oh, it didn't work. You know why? Because I need to pass in a context. I hope it's called context, not contexts. So you know with Canvas on the API, you have to pass in a reference to the canvas. What have I done? Oh look, it's there. I'm clearing the rectangle every frame. Ignore me, ignore me. There you go. Our very first particle. Yeah? Yeah, okay, well that's pretty exciting. Now it's not moving though, you probably want to make it move. So instead of just drawing it once, let's set an interval. Set interval calls this function x milliseconds per frame, and because we want it to run 30 times a second, we divide 1000 by 30 and that gets our frame rate in milliseconds. So every frame I'm going to clear the rectangle and redraw the particle. Yeah? Yeah, so now we've got an animated particle. Are you ready for this? Oh, damn, my mouse. What's going on? Yeah? It's animating. It's just not, I'm not actually moving it at all, but it is animated because I'm redrawing it every frame. So we have to actually set some of the properties of the particle for that to work. I can never remember what they're called, but let's just try velx. So let's just try velx, which is basically the x velocity if I haven't screwed that up. Oh goodness. Live coding, bring it on. There you go. Oh, did you see that? Did you see it? Hang on. Are you ready for this? Whoa! That's a pretty fast particle. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I know it's ironic, but I don't care. So we can make it slow down, and we can add gravity to it, of course, so we can set the drag. And this is what I did before. So 0.9, it should come to a halt pretty quick. Yeah, well, it's a bit small. Let's make it a bit bigger. There you go. See how it just grinds to a halt? Bit fast probably. You could probably reduce the effect of drag by making that closer to 1. Adding some gravity. Shall we add some gravity? Maybe 0.5. So that increases. There you go. So now it falls down, right? So we've got our particle, it's moving around, it's doing that physics just like I showed you in the slide. That must be really hard for you, Nick. I'm really sorry.
No, I'm just worried about it.
Is it all right? Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, so one particle is cool, but really the whole point of the particle system is that there's like a gajillion if you're in open frameworks, but if you're in JavaScript, 100. So okay, so all you need to do is make an array that we put our particles in, set the maximum number. Every frame we make some more particles, clear the rectangle in the canvas, go through each particle, render it and update it, and then here this bit takes particles off if we got too many. That's the bit that makes the particles there. We just set its size and velocity to a random amount. In my course I explain all this really well, it's brilliant. There you go, we got some particles, that's a bit better, isn't it? Yeah? Thank you. Yeah, I know you're getting a bit bored of clapping, but stay with it, it's good. Right, so we also have this shrink value, which makes it, we multiply the size by that value every frame, so see how they get a bit smaller? And but we can also subvert the shrink by giving it a number greater than 1, and then actually our particles get bigger. Whoa, look at that. And we can of course adjust the amount of velocity and drag. Let's make the drag a bit lower. You know, oh, we can make them fade out a bit as well, so that makes them a bit more transparent. Yeah. So you can see straight away I'm just editing these values to get slightly different effects. But what's really cool is instead of like just using a white circle, we can actually use an image for our particle, in which case, let's just take a look at the next example, which uses an image. See, now we've got all these little flying sparkly things. Whoa! And when I click, even more come out. And see that they've got you know, nice bounciness and stuff as well. But so exactly the same code as before. I'm just using a different image and using a very simple collision detection algorithm that's basically like one line of code. Right, let's have a look at the next example. So now, see, we're using quite a few of these particles and they're blobbing out. Now every time I draw a new particle, it gets drawn over the top. But one of the little tricks that I've learned along the way, because most sort of graphical programming environments have this concept of additive blending, and so the canvas is no exception, except they call it the composite operation. And my particle implements the composite operation, so by setting the particle's composite operation to lighter, it means that now the particles get rendered with an additive blend. So what an additive blend is like, if you've used Flash, it's like the blend mode add, or if you've used Photoshop, it's like when you have the blend mode, which is like lighten, right? So light stuff shows through underneath the dark things that you put on top. As soon as you set that, things blob together. That didn't work. Did I save it? There you go. Yeah, pretty. Why not just slow clap? I mean, come on. Okay, so that's some other cool particle stuff. Now with this example, I'm using a different image there. I'm just using this image there. It's a fuzzy white circle. And let's just take a look at some of the values that we're giving it. Well, we're giving it a random velocity between -5 and +5. So that's a little bit of left and right movement. No up and down movement at all. A random size, a random transparency between 20 and 30%, a gravity of -0.2. What do you think that will do to it?
Float up.
Float up, yeah, good, cool. So a bit of drag. Shrink means that it gets bigger because it's a number larger than 1, and the fade means it fades out. So what sort of effect do you think this would create? And don't tell me if you've seen it already, Rob. Any thoughts of what that might look like? Lots of little white fuzzy particles.
Smoke.
Bubbles. Smoke! Let's see if it's smoky. Perhaps it could be. Who knows? Who knows? There you go. And it follows the mouse. See some nice smoke. Okay, you're not going to clap that one. That's fine. But actually, you know, this again is an example of how you can be creative, because that's exactly the same code as last time, right? But we change the numbers, you get a completely different effect. It's so powerful, this particle system. I've been using a system like this for years and years to do all different kinds of drips and blobs and explosions and things blowing up and things on fire and other things that temporarily escaped my mind. But this is an example. I wanted the smoke to be a bit more effective, a bit more sort of like turbulent, and I didn't really know how to do it, but I just imagined maybe if my particle image is like this, a kind of crescent, and maybe I could spin them around a little bit. Yeah, maybe we'll get a slightly more realistic smoke, so let's have a look. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you. So, particle. I can't remember what 4. Oh, 4 is amazing. Particles 4. This is my favourite particle effect ever, but it builds up slowly, right? So here's my particle effect. Follows the mouse. It's kind of a weird image. Let's just take a look at that image. It's in here, and it's this one. So notice about that. It's not transparent at all. It's black with like blue, with a big fuzzy blue. You can't really see it on this screen, but there's a big fuzzy blue glow around it. So see, at the moment they're covering each other up, and that looks a bit rubbish. You can see they're also sort of flowing out of the mouse a little bit. But again, this is an example where if we set the composite operation to get additive blending, then it looks completely different. Yeah, I love that one. That guy loves it as well, and that one. You all love it, it's brilliant. But there's one more element that I want to add to. In fact, there's a couple of more elements. This is getting really exciting. So there's this shimmer property, and all this does is it randomizes the size between 0 and where it should be. So it's a random value, so it could be any size up to the size that it's meant to be. And then look at that. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, both of you. And, but the final thing, now what I'm doing in this example is I'm also keeping track of the mouse velocity and how fast that mouse moves, and I'm taking a little bit of that and I'm going to actually add some of it to how the speed the particles go when they're formed. And that makes them look like I can sort of throw them around a bit. Yeah? Yeah? That's my favourite particle effect ever. Right, so these are all just canvas examples. So as Rob said, canvas can be pretty slow. Even on the new iPad 2, it's still quite slow. So I thought I'd experiment with doing like DOM objects for particles, right? So you can take, in this case, I'm taking a div, and I'm making loads of divs, and that's going to be my particles. I'm moving the divs around. So let's just take a look. Okay, so you've seen that before. It's kind of similar to the one that we did before. Now that actually works on the iPad, so let's see if I can find it on here. Now, there it is. Right, so you can see it. Can you see it? Yeah, so that's my particles there. Now you can see after a little while, it starts to chug a little bit. Can you see the frame rate's a bit low? So I think, Rob, did you mention the CSS 3D hack thing?
Nope. Okay,
so in most WebKit browsers and in Firefox, maybe in Safari and WebKit and maybe Firefox, I don't know, you can give a DOM object a 3D transform as a CSS property, and then magically hardware acceleration kicks in. So if I do that on this and refresh, oh, I pushed the wrong button, don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, and now, actually you probably can't see, but that's running a lot smoother, and it will carry on running smoothly, and that's a really neat trick. So if you want to, like, actually get to the point where you could make a game with this technique, right? With these DOM objects, just moving them around. Forget canvas.
So is the DOM faster than canvas on the long one?
Depends exactly. Yeah, it is. It's pretty much faster than everything, to be honest. It's probably, most of the time, it's going to be faster than. Oh, I've lost the Wi-Fi. Do you want to? Should we plug this in? Do you want to? We don't need to. Maybe we'll show you some stuff on that later. But yeah, most of the time it's faster.
SVG?
SVG, I don't know. It's SVG is faster than Canvas usually, but these are, it's like, depends on the case that you're doing. I mean, SVG makes DOM objects, right? So
yeah,
it's the same sort of thing. More benchmarks required. So the other thing that I did, it was Paul Rouget actually who set the challenge of distributing a load of circles on within another circle that and figuring out how to randomly distribute them. So although he wanted a particular type of algorithm that I didn't give him, I did come up with an entirely different one that kind of worked. And all they do is these little particles, they repel each other. So when you, and also they're kind of held within a big circle. So when I make a whole load of them, in fact, I'm sure I've got an example which does that by clicks for me. Hang on, let's just have a look. That might save a bit of time. There we are. There you go, that's better. So it makes a load of particles, they're all repelling each other. It just basically calculates how far apart they are and puts a force on them from that. And then look, see how they just all jiggle around and sort themselves out. That's really pretty. Oh. And I can just keep adding them and adding them. And I thought, well, wouldn't that be fun to do in 3D? So I took Mr. Doob's 3.js, the JavaScript library, and I thought, well, I'll do them as 3D particles. Whoa, look at that. So now they're all in 3D space, and now they're all properly repelling each other in 3D as well. And they also arrange themselves into a nice, evenly spaced out sphere of particles as well. Pretty. Come on, that was... but I thought actually that didn't look so nice, so I thought instead I'd make them fixed to the surface of a sphere instead of just inside a sphere, and I'd also give them this particle image which I stole off Mr. Doob, and additive blending, and now we've got this sphere.
It's the Death Star.
It is kind of the Death Star, yeah.
The shields are still up.
Well, I knew I should put more Star Wars references in. So all of these particles now are evenly distributed around the surface of a sphere. And I can keep adding them as well, look, and they keep getting added on. Whoa.
Is this WebGL? When do you hit a buffer overrun?
So this isn't WebGL, this is just the 3.js canvas renderer. So a buffer, what? I have no idea what you're talking about. Just going to ignore that question. But yeah, it's pretty easy to just switch renderer and end up with WebGL. So what else? Oh, I could show you my bunny benches. I mean, I do have a load of 3D examples, but I don't think I've got time today to show you them. I'm running out of time, aren't I? Aren't I? Yeah? I've got 15 minutes.
20 minutes. Yeah.
20 minutes? Well, how much?
15.5.
Okay, well, I just want to share. I don't really want to go full on into 3D right now, because that would take probably another 20 minutes. But I wouldn't mind just showing you some of these benchmarks that I've done. So I've done this canvas benchmark here, which is Ian Lobb's bunny bench. Now Ian's we do a podcast together called Creative Coding Podcast, and he's a really excellent Flash games programmer. So he took this benchmark in Flash and worked out all different ways to blit it and render it in Flash to get the best performance, and between the two of us we came up with the JavaScript version, and this one is Canvas. Now this runs really well on PCs, but it doesn't run very well in Macs. I don't know if you can see really close up, sometimes the bunnies are kind of drawn a bit fuzzy. Now that's because Canvas, I don't know if you know this, but it works on sub-pixel levels, so it's perfectly legitimate to draw an image at 10.5 pixels along, and it will just kind of interpolate and make it fuzzy. So I don't know if you can ever see, sometimes the bunnies go fuzzy, and that's because it's being drawn halfway across the pixels. So this is quite a slow operation on Macs, so I found a really good way to just speed that up. Really dumb way of speeding it up is just literally by rounding the pixel values before you render it. Are you ready for this? So all I'm doing is just literally like rounding the pixel values before I draw one image into the canvas, and now it's much faster. You're not listening to a word I'm saying, you're just you're just like, look, it's bunnies, I love bunnies. Bunnies, okay, good, because I've got some more bunnies. That's good. If I didn't know, I would have done the whole thing about bunnies if I didn't know. So this example is using DOM objects. So the weird thing with when you have a DOM object is that you have to adjust the CSS transform, the position in CSS, by adjusting a string, right? So you're actually putting position values together by concatenating strings that make up the CSS styles, which to a programmer who's not used to this is just really weird. But that's fine.
Seems like
SQL, yeah, I mean, but I've never had to render a particle system using SQL before.
Challenge.
Challenge accepted. Oh, I'm such I'll do it later. Okay, so these are all DOM objects this time. I can't remember, are they divs? Yeah, it's called bunnies div, so that's why. So I'm just moving these DOM objects around, and so I thought, well, maybe there'd be some performance improvement. Now, DOM objects actually snap to pixels anyway. You can't have sub-pixel positions for DOM objects. But if I snap to pixels, it does speed up a little bit, but I think that's probably just more to do with the fact that I'm no longer concatenating floating point strings, which have like 20 decimal places. So it's a minor thing, but there's this really good hack, which I mentioned before with the particles. If you set the CSS 3D transform property, you get hardware acceleration. Now this is a bit buggy when I do it on several thousand bunnies. Let's see what happens today. There you go, right. So now the bunnies are going much, much faster, and that's because they're now being rendered with hardware acceleration. Notice, for some unknown reason, my web form elements have just disappeared. My HTML toggle boxes, wherever they are. So there's clearly a little bit of a way to go. Oh, back again. I don't know. But that's quite interesting as well. And certainly, again, like what I said before, if you want that to run in Canvas, then that's what you have to do. So as part of my course, I teach you pretty much how to make asteroids from scratch. Step by step, making the asteroids, making them have, pretty particle effects when they blow up. Hit test, collision detection stuff, canvas, more canvas stuff, and even more particles. Whoa, look at that. Can you see the? Can you see the? A rip-off of Rob Hawkes, yes, of course, because no one's ever done a little triangle for a ship before. Wow, I wish I'd thought of a little triangle for a ship. Well, anyway, so this is quite interesting because I'm exploring the possibility of making a game that runs on iOS. You know, someone asked what's a reason to make something in HTML5, and there isn't really that many good reasons, but I'm happy to discuss all the various ins and outs of that. But of course, with the thing that everyone says, like they said at Game On, I remember very clearly because I think it was, I can't remember, was it?
I'm a Flash guy.
I'm sorry? Oh, hug a Flash guy, yeah. They did. Christian Harman did tell everyone in the audience to hug me because of my Flash experience, and that's fine. But I remember very clearly because some of us, when this conversation, well, why should we use HTML? And everyone was kind of bumbling around, and Rob did his usual thing. Well, it's an open language. If you want to use open stuff, then you can use the open stuff. It's open. And it was a very well thought out argument, Rob. There was someone in the audience, and this is always what happens. She held her iPad aloft and said, because it has to work on the iPad. And I was like, well, okay, that's fair enough, but the truth is that most rich media stuff performs really badly on the iPad. The iPad 2 is a massive improvement. The new JavaScript engine also is a massive improvement, but still rendering Canvas stuff on the iPad is still a little bit slow. If I run one of these particle demos, Joe, did you disconnect your network?
Sorry, it died.
Oh, is your battery running out? Oh, damn it.
Android.
Well, it runs really shit on the... Oh, man, I can't show my other stuff now. Has anyone got a network I can connect to?
Try.
Alright, well that's totally ruined the end of my talk now.
GPRX, please.
That's fine, I just need a network that I can connect via my computer. Maybe we'll do that, and in the meantime I can just finish off my presentation. What have we got? Oh, blimey. Oh goodness.
I got there first.
Okay. Hang on a sec. Here we go. So, come on, Mr. iPad. How do I force it to connect to the Wi-Fi? Just mute yourselves for a moment. I don't know how to use this thing. Yeah, thanks, settings. Yeah, I know. I'm not very good at computers. What's your Wi-Fi network called?
Wall of sound.
Wall of sound.
Please don't read the password out.
See, Joe was fine. He just had an open network.
Android.
He's an Android guy.
How do you build this one?
oh, easy now. And I also have to connect with this one as well. So Don't, which one? Wall of... God, this is really boring for you, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm sorry. It can't all be particles and pretty effects. Okay, let's see. My IP address has probably changed. I really should probably put this somewhere a bit more accessible.
At the web.
Like, what is this strange internet of which you talk? Alright, hang on. This is really boring. So, anyone been anywhere nice lately? I feel like one of those hairdressers. Anywhere nice on your holiday? 172 20 10. There you go. Anyone wants to connect to my computer, that's probably how to do it. Oh, should we plug this into the thing? Should we plug this into the magic thing machine? I need the VG. Should I do it then?
Pull that out there.
It's all screwed in. You do it.
I can't do it.
Is it mic stand?
Yeah.
It's
It's just a mic stand, alright?
You can't be a mic stand and a cable guy, right? I've never tried this before. Does it work? Oh, look at that. That's amazing. Okay, yeah. So I was only going to show you like how crap Canvas was. There you go. So that's that Canvas example. I mean, there's a lot of, part of it is actually that you're just clearing the whole entire screen every frame. So there's optimizations to be had in terms of keeping track of the so-called dirty rectangle. But also, you know, DOM elements are inevitably going to be a little, what, someone find that amusing? Dirty rectangle. What's that? What? I don't get that at all. So this is like that's the particle effect with the DOM elements, but I just wanted to show you this because I've been playing a little bit with my asteroids and I wanted to try and see how the multi-touch worked. It actually works really well in JavaScript. So look at that. Whoa, it's really responsive as well. This is even more responsive than like Android not in JavaScript. So that doesn't mean to be a dick, but I just found that, you know, I had a Nexus 1 and it just didn't, the multi-touch just blatantly didn't work and it really annoyed me. But look at that, it's like 10. You can actually do 11 touches.
But not 12.
I don't know why 11, I have no idea. But I just thought, wouldn't it be fun? Because I think the main challenge with making... do you want to share something with the rest of the group? The main challenge I find with making a game that works on mobile at all is the control mechanism. And so I was very excited when Android had Flash Player, and I'm like, yeah, I can finally play all these Flash games that I've been making over the last 8 years or whatever. Finally play it on a mobile device. Of course, loaded it up on the device and it worked surprisingly fast, right? You know, they've done a pretty good job in terms of how fast it runs, but none of my games were playable because they're all cursor controlled, right? So it's like you can't direct cursor key input into Flash on an Android device. So you have to rebuild, of course, the Flash people, they're all rebuilding their stuff, but we're also rebuilding these JavaScript games as well. And so this is my little asteroid, and I thought, well, the Geometry Wars is a great model for multi-touch, so I thought I'd copy that in JavaScript. So the left one touches, wherever you touch, that just becomes the central point, so you don't have to look at what you're touching, and then you can just fly the little ship around, whee! And then the right-hand side just does firing. So this is just a very, very quick demo that I knocked up, actually, I think, while I was doing my training course the other day. I mean, obviously I was teaching everyone, really, during doing this. But yeah, I think that's kind of cool. I really like the multi-touch stuff, and it's probably worth investigating some more. So now, back to my computer for finishing up. A bit of dead air again. It's fine. Right.
Do you need that?
Just keep it on, just in case. You never know. Right. So, well, there's some other. Actually, there is one thing I wanted to show you, which is this little asteroids that I knocked together. This was this the one? This was the one before Rob did it. The first time I did Creative.js, and this was when Remy Sharp was there. And I just did this little test to see about making a 3D asteroids in 3.js, and I live coded this there, so that's why nothing blows up or anything. But it's kind of a nice little first run at making a 3D asteroids game. And so, you know, I'm quite critical about Canvas being very slow, but if you can style what you're making to be something that works in that medium, if you can get away with very few polys, if you can, you know, if you want to have like a full 3D rendered scene, then that's never going to work. But if you're going to just do something really simple and stylized, then you might be able to get away with it, right? So, so then you might have a realistic chance of falling back to Canvas if WebGL isn't implemented yet. So, just to finish off then, now, just skip past, oh, you missed the bit about Father Ted, oh, that was good. So, so this is just my little warning to you, right? Because now, of course, I think I assume that mostly you're open web developers, and I don't know why, but I just got this slight feeling that some of you maybe don't like Flash very much. And I sort of understand where you're coming from, because I think poor use of Flash is nothing more annoying than that, right? I think, you know, we've all experienced really annoying stuff like, you know, like cipher, you know, a Flash object just for type. So now you're finding, now you can do some of this stuff in browser, it's really good, but the reasons you hate Flash are because of its poor use, really annoying banners that use up all your processor. So, and now it's very easy to get excited by all this new stuff, but pretty much everything I've shown you today might have some uses, but mostly it's just fluff that really needs to be used tastefully. Otherwise, you're just going to create these really horrible user experiences that have been done in Flash up until now. And then what was the point of killing off Flash if then you're just going to do the same old shit not in Flash? So I'm being facetious, of course. But with great power comes responsibility. So here's an example of, well, possibly the most magnificent use of Flash, or I'm not sure. But it's what can happen if you get too excited by the technology. Here we have K&K mic. Can we plug the sound in, or should I just put the just put the mic in? So are you ready for this? It's pretty awesome. Where is the speaker? I don't even know where it is.
Before I formed them in the womb, I knew their mother. Before they were born, I set them apart from hearts. I appointed them as prophets to the nations. The founders of Gospel Mind, Nation's Choice, K&K Mind. Through the barriers of religion and tradition, they will electrify, elevate, and inspire you with quick reflexes and a driving force from within, allowing them to carry out the purpose of God. You will be inspired, enlightened, and challenged to your high place in worship. K&K's dramatic depiction of the arts literally brings the songs to life right before your very eyes. So get ready to see the power of God and be catapulted to a new dimension in worship. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, put your hands together. Welcome the animated ministry of K&K Mind. K&K Mind.
That was the one you won the BAFTA for, yeah?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if there are any... it's pretty amazing stuff, isn't it? There's sharperfx.com who make all these kinds of crazy intros. I was just thinking, if there are any epileptics in their congregation, then they really would be catapulted into a new dimension of worship. Although I'm not entirely sure that's very good. I love also the way that, forget skip intro, we don't have a skip intro. Why would you ever want to skip this intro? All there is a replay button, which I find particularly amusing. So yes, so that's the warning. You could do it in JavaScript, but it doesn't mean you have to, right? Just be careful. That's all I'm saying. But if you just if you make sparkles come off your mouse, yeah, don't blame me, right? Okay, because I've warned you. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So yeah, what I'm seeing though, what I'm loving about the JavaScript community is that, you know, it's a really fun time to play with this stuff. People and all this whole new people are finding and discovering the joy of visual programming and all these techniques, and that's why I'm really enjoying sharing them with this whole new audience. Particularly with any sort of web-based technology, the ability to share your little discoveries is fantastic. So, and I'm really happy to see that's happening, and that's been happening more and more in JavaScript over the last few years. So, yeah, keep it up. That's good. And of course, I'm doing my workshops. I'm going away for a few months to America. I'm taking my workshops to San Francisco, New York, and Kansas City. Which one of those is the odd one out? I don't know. And maybe Boston if I can get enough people. But I should be back in Brighton at the end of summer, August, September. If you want to come to one of my courses, ask Rob if it was any good. Was it? It was very good, Rob. Thank you. And or just look back at the Creative JS hashtag. You'll see everyone tweets about the course as they're doing it. So you'll see firsthand what people thought. And they're mostly pretty kind. Sometimes they say, Seb has asked me to tweet about this course, but that's fine. So I'm back in Brighton in August, September. So come down to the seaside in the summer and learn some creative JavaScript for 2 days. I mean, that's pretty awesome. Really small class sizes, 12 people, really nice venue, and great to hang out in Brighton. So if you go to my training page at seb.lee/training, there's a email thing. What do you call those things? Email things? A mail thing? Yeah. Mailing list. I don't know. I don't really understand technology. Okay, so well, that's kind of it. So my company is pluginmedia.net, Creative Coding Podcast. Don't forget, and there's my blog and Twitter ID at the bottom. So thanks very much. Do we have time for questions?
3 or 4 questions.
3 or 4 questions, yes.
Did you bring your BAFTA? Can we see it?
I didn't bring it, no.
You haven't got one, have you?
No, I totally made it up. For some reason, my business partners have taken the BAFTAs home. I'm not sure what that's all about. But you know what? It's really seriously heavy. It's like proper solid granite. Anyway, yes.
Do you have the barrel demo?
The barrel demo.
No. Someone asked 1,000 and then it'll get embarrassed.
I don't know that in fact, I don't think I've got Unity on this machine, so sorry. I did a demo at Full Frontal, which was in Unity. Unity 3D is brilliant, and I think it's the future, especially now they've just announced that, I mean, basically it's a middleware, right? It's a gaming engine in 3D. If you haven't heard of it, I'd recommend you have fun with it. You program it in JavaScript, so it's fantastic, and there's a web plugin for it, but they're also going to be targeting the new 3D hardware accelerated capabilities of the Flash player, and it's going to be by far the easiest way to make a 3D game in Flash, and they're also going to be looking at implementing WebGL. So, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I've done a lot of 3D, but I still don't fancy making a game in WebGL. It's just insanely complicated. So, stuff like Unity is brilliant, so check it out. And no, I don't have the barrel demo, sorry. Any more questions? Yes?
So, again, kind of the middleware thing, a lot of the things that you've done, you can do in Flash, you can do in JavaScript, you can, like maths-based things.
Yeah.
Have you ever kind of been psycho enough to think I could write some middleware, so develop once, deploy many ways?
Did you all hear that question?
Yeah.
Can I repeat it? So the question was, because I know all these technologies, have I ever been tempted to make a middleware that can just write once and deploy anywhere? Well, I think that that's kind of what people are attempting to do with varying degrees of success. For me, I prefer to actually learn every technology. That's probably because I'm a bit mental, but also just because everything's slightly different. And so, for example, I know a lot of other Flash people who are starting to play with JavaScript and Canvas, but they're sort of I'm not going to criticise this because it's brilliant, but Grant Skinner, a really famous Flash guy, has made easel.js, which is a Flash sort of display list. It's kind of similar to a Flash display list, but rendered in Canvas, which is brilliant, right? But I like to look at the environment that I'm working in and really understand that. So I understand Canvas, I know what it's good at, and that's why I'm starting to look at DOM elements for moving stuff around, which might be a better way of using it, right? So I'm not saying it's better or worse, but I just prefer to really understand the technology I'm working in to get the best out of that. This kind of concept of create once and deploy anywhere has been the sort of mantra of Flash for ages as well, and I think it's a bit of a misnomer. There's also that sort of stuff with PhoneGap as well, and Titanium, stuff like that. And I think if you're on a really tight budget, those sort of systems can be good, but they'll never, or it's very rare that they're going to produce the absolute best, most fine-tuned, slickest user experience targeted to that particular platform. So if you're attempting, which I always attempt, to do the very best thing that you can do, then you might want to go native. If your issue is budget and time, then you might want to use one of these things. Of course, having said that, the exception is Unity, where they really have built an excellent system that makes iPhone apps, Android apps, the web player, it makes Mac PC apps, it also publishes to Wii, PS3, Xbox, and game studios now are starting to use that just because it's so easy to use. I mean, it's ridiculously easy to use. You spend a few hours and you've made an FPS and you're like, did I just program that? You know, it really is amazing. So on the whole, write once, deploy anywhere is a myth, except possibly with Unity, and of course that is open to discussion. Any more?
Do you have an endorsement deal with Unity yet?
I really don't, you know. But I've only met them. I've met them a few times, but I've only done a couple of small projects in it. But I really think it's brilliant. So, but yeah, anyone from Unity is watching this, I'll be your evangelist for free. Yes, Joe.
The composite mode.
Yeah.
Presumably you can't do that with HTML with the DOM.
That's right.
Okay, and so therefore, are there any other major differences that you point out between SVG, Canvas and the DOM?
Yeah, so the question was, you know, Joe pointed out that you can't do the composite operation in DOM elements. There's other stuff you can't do in DOM elements as well, I think. But what other differences? So I guess Canvas, the choice is Canvas, DOM, SVG. I actually really like Raphael.js. I haven't really used that very much, but it's a brilliant SVG wrapper. Falls back to VML. And I think for a lot of stuff that's being done in Canvas, you'd be better off doing it in Raphael because it's much more compatible with even IE, right? It goes back to, I think, IE7, I'm not entirely sure, but it's quite a mature library. And you can use mouse events on these SVG shapes, which you can't really do in Canvas. Canvas is just a bitmap, so if you draw something on it, it's there forever. You can't pick up mouse events on that single thing. So I think everyone's getting hung up on Canvas, and I think a lot of the time they should be looking at something like Raphael or DOM objects. So, but they're all different. Canvas has got its own thing that it's really good at, like the additive blending, and sometimes you just want a bitmap to play with. Okay?
I guess so, yeah.
Cool.